Did you use any social media during your preparation?
Instagram, I have a fake account where I just show you my revision, this thing out here. All of these post-its
Oh,
are
brilliant.
till April 15th. All of these, micro, macro, max and stats, just broad topics that.
Okay, so we have Namrita with us, who scored AIR 4 in IIT JAM exam. So hi, Namrita.
Hi, sir. Good evening, sir.
Okay. Although it is not very surprising to me, she was always punctual in the classes and doing so well in the classes. So it was not so surprising to me that she scored such a good rank in IIT JAM. Okay, so if I go, before I go any further, let's just give a brief intro of yourself.
So my name is Namrita Shankar. I did my undergraduation from Christ University, Bangalore. I did my masters from Central University of Kerala. I'm also pursuing an online BSc from BSc Honors from IIT Guwahati in Data Science and AI. So along with that, I'm preparing for my second master's entrance exam. So I had appeared for GATE and JAM as a practice test for my uh, as part of my MA entrances. So that's how I done fairly well, all thanks to the coaching and the assistance I received from sir. So I'm very grateful and truly humbled and grateful by all the support I had received.
Brilliant. Okay, and very quickly, can you just tell us your score and rank of both JAM and GATE of this year?
Yes, so for GATE, I had got the 41st rank and I had got 67.33 if memory serves right. And for JAM, I had got 82.33 marks and my rank came to I got the fourth rank. So GATE happened in the first week, and the deal with GATE exams is it's slightly more difficult than JAM all the time. Usually, for the past 2 years at least, correct me if I'm wrong, GATE has always happened first, and JAM happened second for economics at least, for the humanities subjects at least. So GATE is always a good primer to know where you stand, because GATE primarily a lot of master students and MPhil students appear for GATE, so they end up scoring the higher marks. And this thing, it's not that it's impossible to score higher marks if you're in your bachelor's, because if you look at the content itself, it's not too difficult, but it can be quite challenging since you're still in your bachelor's. If you're still in your bachelor's and you're still trying to figure out the concepts clearly, because it takes a while to have that level of conceptual clarity. And GATE's part A can be quite challenging, and it makes a huge difference in scores. Most people who fall below the 60 level mark are students who don't do the part A properly. It's not the part B, which is the
Correct.
subject matter
Correct.
portion properly. It is the part A where they sort of fumble around. And but the good thing is part A is very advantageous to students of economics, because part A has a lot of beyond the vocabulary portion, has a lot of say mathematics and statistics related questions where we have a much bigger upper hand than any other humanities subject. So if you're very clear with your mathematical, economics, and statistics basics, not the more complicated formulae, but if your concepts are clear, you should be able to easily apply yourself, and that will be a huge game changer in your GATE score. And that will give you an upper hand even if you are just in your bachelor's level, because the subject matter is more or less simple.
Okay, what was your
And
analysis?
Jan,
Sorry to cut you off. What was your
no
analysis
problem, no
of
problem.
JAM this year? How was it
Jam
compared to
as
last
that
year, or
it was
compared to the
much easier,
overall? Easier.
much easier paper, much easier paper. It didn't have a lot of Jam has an advantage so far at least. They don't have a lot of twisted questions like how DSC question papers used to be before they merged with CUET. DSC questions had a more intuitive feeling. Jam does not have anything like that. If your concepts are clear, you can apply yourself beautifully. Even if you haven't worked out too many question papers, if that is where you're at. But if you're conceptually clear, whatever you have learned, if you've learned it thoroughly, you should be able to apply yourself well. Even the questions from vectors, those tend to be the most challenging chapters for a lot of students. Matrices, determinants, vector spaces,
Yeah, linear algebra.
sequencing, linear algebra. That tends to be quite tricky for students. But this time, those questions were fairly straightforward. Statistics was straightforward. Micro, macro, all of that. I think set theory, I've heard a few of them have had a few hiccups here and there, but again, if you're conceptually clear, jam should be fairly easy, much easier than gate, because gate has a more net feel to it. Like how you're appearing for net, there we have certain intuitive questions. They test your knowledge in vocabulary. They test your arithmetic knowledge. Jam is quite straightforward. Do you know your subject or not? That is all that is there. So if you're clear with micro, you should be able to do most of your micro questions properly. As long as you avoid negative marking tends to come in during Indian economy or related questions, current affairs related questions, where you might have certain hiccups. But your subject matter shouldn't be a problem, usually for JAM.
And many students were complaining about the Indian economy part of JAM.
That tends to be tricky because Indian economy how much ever you learn, there's something that you've probably missed out. It's either you know the answer or you don't know the answer.
Yeah, that's
So
almost everything under the sun.
true. Even if you know, either you know something or you don't. Here, you can't even like, okay, this time what had happened was they asked a question about government initiative and it was skill development related something. So it's 1.0 or 2.0, 3.0. So you really need to know each name properly. So that can be quite tricky. Best thing to do is to avoid such questions if you don't know the answer. Don't risk negative marking because negative marking can bring your rank down by like 10 ranks or 12 ranks. That is how small the differences are, especially with gate. Gate will find 12, 13 people, especially at somewhere in the top, having almost the same marks.
Yes, gate
And this
is
time gate's cutoff was also higher.
gate cutoff was higher this time.
Gate's cutoff was also this time was higher than last year, if memory serves right. Because gate is getting more and more competitive. More
Yeah,
and more
last time I
non-economic
think
students.
jam cutoff was 27. This time it was 24 only. So yes, jam was
Jam's cutoff
comparatively easier this time.
got easier. Jam was a lot easier this time than last year. Jam last year was still trickier. And I think because of the pandemic, it was just the batch out after the pandemic, there were a lot of struggles with that. But this year, JAM was pretty straightforward. We had a very lucid paper. It's a matter of whether you know your content or not. If you know your content well, it's not a problem. That should have been quite easy. But the challenge is I'll get to my prep journey also once I get to that. But always make sure that if students are learning, you start from concept. Your module, what chapters do you have to deal with? You deal with review questions first, then look into PYQs. Okay, ISI, DSE questions, JNU questions. What sort of questions are they asking? Revise and then go to question papers. Because I've most common mistakes I've seen, especially once you step outside the exam hall and you hear students talking, I've heard a lot of reverse engineering study methods where people look at, say, JNU 2014. JNU 2014 question one. Okay, this chapter I'll go learn. But you're only preparing for that one question. You don't learn how many questions can come out of it. People don't look at, even for example, statistics, Gupta and Kapoor. The review questions are so good. It tests your information level. How much can you apply yourself in everything, in every module? People don't look at review questions. At best, people look at the examples, which are the
Yeah,
easier
they
questions in
try to
Gupta and Kapoor.
reverse engineer the question that they just find a similar question like
Exactly.
this, and that
And then,
that
okay, this
that never
one.
happens.
That never happens. Every year, something new can come. I've got geometric probability. वो एक ही question आया था all in the past 5 years. So what if like one question is
Yeah,
important?
you
Three
could
questions can come
the
next.
next question could come in your exam.
Exactly. And integration. Oh, one basic integration चाहिए, just the antiderivative. It could come in a geometric probability as area under the curve. That is very important. People just like unilaterally they learn, and that becomes a problem. Because before GATE and JAM, I had not worked out a lot of question papers. I'm not the most disciplined learner. First thing what I do is when I thought, okay, I'll start studying, I had laid out everything that I have. I'll just show you my revision this thing out here. All of these post-its
Oh,
are
brilliant.
till April 15th. All of these micro, macro, max and stats, just broad topics that I have to cover. So I have set a timeline till April 15th.
These
ISI
are
exam is happening in
PYQs
April.
of IIT Jam or the all the entrances.
All the entrances. When I start off, because another misconception is people study, oh, I will only study for CUET. CUET has higher probability, so I will only study for CUET. The question patterns can change. Anything can happen. It is better to be prepared with more and more questions in your study. I'll get to that why. Now, I speak out of experience because I've done my post graduation also. Because post graduation, there is any university can send you a question paper. You think whatever your professor has taught is the only thing that will come. Okay, the easiest lecture, that is the only thing that will come. Suddenly, some big shot professor who's got 20 years of experience teaching, probably presents 10 papers in a conference, will set up a question paper, and then you don't know ABC. It'll all look like Greek and Latin. So that sort of training helped me. Now, fundamentally, where things go wrong is first thing what I did was, even before I started lectures, is I broke down all the chapters and modules that we have. Microeconomics, what all do we have to cover? At least the core subjects, core modules, core chapters. I broke everything down. What all is, for example, micro, what all modules do we have? Variant. I always like Ahuja because Ahuja is always a good primer. If I know my basics, if I practice graphs and all of that through Ahuja, I find that very accurate. And then review questions. Then I look at
And
workbook,
how
all of
many?
those questions.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
How
no
many
problem.
months ago did you start preparing for the entrances that you actually start actively preparing?
3 or 4 months, not
Just
more
three or
than
four
that.
months.
3 or
That
4
means
months, but
around November or September.
November, September, November, October. I think October I actively started because September I had a few commitments. So I just started off, but I couldn't commit myself fully. So we can say October. Now, what happened? I broke everything down. What all I had to cover in variant, what all I had to cover, the workbook questions, PYQs, all of that. I had divided everything. So even when even if I didn't have the time to do a lot of question papers, I had worked out most questions from all question papers, at least 3 times. So even if I did not have the time to do time-bound question papers at all times, I'm familiar with questions.
Okay, so what are the source you have used apart from coaching? Can you just
For
break down it for me?
most of the more basic textbooks, I didn't spend a lot of time with textbooks, or at least doing a lot of complicated textbooks. With micro, I had done varian and ahuja.
Okay.
Macro, I primarily relied on ahuja. For questions, I rely on shom's outline, because ahuja's questions tend to be quite simplistic. It is good if your basics are a little shaky, then do ahuja questions and then move on to shom's, because shom's are very good for exam, from the exam
The
point of view.
Shom's outline series.
Outline, yes, those series, because they have different grades of questions. So you start from easier to difficult, so you are able to know where you're going wrong. Then variant workbooks for micro, but macro I primarily stuck to Shom's outline. Then statistics, Gupta and Kapoor. That was the only book I referred to. Maths, I only did six because I'm quite strong with maths, so I did not require a lot of review books. Uh, but I've heard Sean's outline is good for mathematical economics also. So if you need more time with maths, then please feel free to use more and more review books. Because after sixth Seta, if I knew that my concepts were clear, I immediately moved to PYQs. That wasn't
Which
an
book
issue
you are
for me.
talking about?
Sean, mathematics for economics, Sirester, Sitsater, whatever the author's name
Acha,
is.
Hammond.
Hammond, yeah, that book. That book. So if my I just checked if my basics were all right, I'm able to solve those questions. Then I move to PYQs automatically. If mathematical economics is a problem, is a concerned subject, then Sean's outlines are good. I've heard of students who are doing well with those
And
books as
you
well.
did PYQs of how many years?
15 years.
15 years. 15-year
Yes.
IIT, DSC, and JNU.
No, IIT, I think 4 or 5 years questions are only available because it
Yeah.
started quite recently. DSC, JNU, ISI, I did. Then Hyderabad, also I did. Those are standard question papers I always do. Then any question that people send as doubts from any review, sometimes even net questions are also sometimes relevant, especially for quant subjects. I do that also. Any question that I come across, I do. Even if it's on YouTube, because it always comes in and affects your algorithm on YouTube. So anything that comes in, I do it. Because another mistake I find a lot of people making is they focus a lot on doing mock test very impractically. They do mock test thinking 3 घंटे में खत्म करना है. So, but the problem is, for me personally, I always been able to crack a question paper on time. My problem lies in the fact that whether get hung up on a question, no, I'll try and solve it. I'll try and crack it. No, no, I have enough and more, and that has always been a problem for me. So the best way to tackle with that issue is if you solve more and more questions, you know how much you know. You are very clear that these are questions that I know. These are formulae that I know. These are types of questions that I can apply myself. And every question, everything I've done thrice before gate,
Okay,
at
you
least
did.
3 times.
Okay, you did a revision 3 times. And
Yes.
the thing you are saying is you did mock test as an assignment.
Yes. I didn't. I kept times. I didn't do live mocks because it sort of clashed with my schedule. I had a lot of work with my university, so that was quite difficult for me. But I would do it. I would do time bound tests, but that happened much later. I didn't use that to assess how much I knew of the subject. I would work out questions because I would want to know how much I know. And if I know that, okay, for example, game theory, if Bertrand-Nash equilibrium is a problem, I'm slow. I would, when I solve questions, I check, okay, how much time am I taking to solve this type of question? If it's taking me more than, if it's a long question, if it's taking me more than 5 minutes, I know this is a problem. I need to work on this because it should happen. Nash equilibrium question should happen within 3 minutes maximum. I should
Yep.
not be
Yep.
taking any more than that. I should not be taking any more time than that. Where if it's a probability, I should not take more than 30 seconds. Even if it's random variables, even if it's continuous, I should not be taking at most more than 60 minutes, 60 seconds. That
Correct.
is the maximum upper limit. So that is how I would assess. And that way, what will happen is, if I know there's a question I don't know, okay, this is tricky. I can't solve it within this time. The reason I know it is because I've solved so many questions that now I know that this is not a question that I should waste my time on. I should waste my time on. I should spend all my other time on the other questions. I'll come back to this. IIT's interface is very friendly, where you can
Yes,
place
great,
the questions for
great
review.
point that you should not let the question demotivate you if you don't know the
Exactly.
answer.
Because that it won't demotivate you if you know that you know so much about a certain thing. And always make a mental note, because next week you have jam. So, or even if it's done next time, you'll have CUET or next time you'll have ISI. Make a mental note that this is a topic that is sort of troubling you. Then go back and work on it. But don't attempt the question because we all have this habit. University exams लिखने के बाद no attempt कुछ ना कुछ तो fill the answer paper, do something. It's
Hmm.
something that we've been trained to do. It leads to negative marks. Negative marks are always far more detrimental than 0 marks because it hurts when you start reviewing your answer paper. It hurts. Oh God, I missed out this. I let my ego get the better of me and I marked it just so that left right hand side me it will show a green that I've attempted so many questions. So that is somewhere where you need to strategize.
Yes, negative marking is
Otherwise,
even worse in ISI
worst. Oh yes, ISI you really have to be very careful of what you do,
because
and with
last
the
time
OMR also.
what happened last year, most of the students thought that the cutoff is gonna go to 80 and 88,
Mm.
so they did their question in that way. And what happened is the cutoff was only 60. That means you
60,
could have only the maths part correctly and still could have made
and
the
then you could
cutoff.
have put
But
exactly.
since they did the reverse engineering and they aligned themselves with the last year paper, so they couldn't do much.
They get hung up. Students, another important thing. Don't reverse engineer from questions like okay, this question about Slutsky, it's about a certain only substitution effect I need to calculate. Then only go back and learn substitution effect.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense. It is important when that you understand concepts well, you do review questions, do PYQs, come back to the concept, ensure that you've achieved conceptual clarity, do review questions again, then do PYQs, then attempt questions independently in question papers. Then you will be able to assess where you fall. Because that, if any deviation from this will actually lead you to a lot of confusion, honestly. Because then you will
Yeah,
not know.
that's a good point that you have raised, that the students do not complete the theoretical part fully and they just start jumping onto the question from there on. You
I've
you need
heard
to
a
have a
lot of
certain
people ask
command
me.
in the theory, then only you can do the numericals.
And personally, I find Slutsky quite challenging. I've had like a very negative experience with Slutsky, so it's always a mind block topic for me. No matter how much it is, always something that scares me. So I spend more time on it. I ensure that I know it clearly, no matter how much I hate it. One day, this is all that I do. I will achieve this. I will conquer this. I give myself the pep talk and I start.
Yeah,
And
that's the thing. When you have a harder topic, you need to spend more time with it. Like,
spend more time on this.
keep
And I've
more
heard so
session to
many
the harder topic.
exactly. And I've heard so many people ask me because I'm in touch with a lot of study groups. I help a lot of students also. They ask me, Didi, what is the more important topic? How do I answer that question? It's an entrance exam. There is no university level exam where, okay, 30% weightage to this module, 20% weightage to this module. Anything can come. And even if there's something like that, it's the broader module they give you. Anything can come from within that module.
Yes,
Anything
I
that
get
comes
tens
in
of
this
messages every day. So what is the estimated cutoff? Like the even the exam hasn't been conducted, they ask me about the cutoffs. Like how I'm gonna
exactly.
go
The
into the
marks will
future.
come. The marks will come. That is not the problem. The problem is where your concepts lie. Because with every paper, you have to improve yourself. Even my gate and jam marks, I've improved in my jam. That 1 week I spent on whatever I could do better. I made mental notes. Okay, these type of questions I need to be faster. Because again, I am not on the clock with somebody else. Let the cutoff be whatever it has to be. Even if it's 99, it should not concern me. I should be the better version of myself. I'm on a race against myself. If I took 30 seconds to do something, next time I must do it within 25 seconds. Then it should come down to 20 seconds. That must be the speed and with accuracy.
Yes,
For
that's the thing
example,
I
in
told.
statistics.
That's the thing I told to everyone in the student. Just do the 75 uh, percent of the question paper correct, and you will clear the cutoff. Don't think about anyone else.
Exactly.
Don't think about marks. Just do the 75% paper correct.
Exactly. Because even if non-economic students appear for an exam, their forte is going to be the mathematical parts, the quant part, mathematical economics, statistics, maybe even economics. Micro and macroeconomics graduates have an upper hand, no matter what. No matter how much people study, we have a greater intuition than anybody else. So we should use all of that to our advantage and ensure that whatever we write accurately. And another important point is statistics and mathematical economics. People waste a lot of time working on simpler problems. They write it on paper, solve it on paper, and don't solve more difficult questions on paper. I do believe that you should solve every question on paper because it helps build time. Your time management skills improve a lot. But any question you see, you must be able to build it out in your. You should be able to solve it in your mind. That is how you build arithmetic skills also. Because IIT and IIT exams, there are calculators on the screen, and those calculators tend to be slower than the calculators we use in our hand. Because there we are able to shuffle
Because
with
you
our
have to
calculator quickly.
use that keyboard. The
keyboard,
mouse,
only mouse also, only the mouse, not even the keyboard.
not even the keyboard.
So it's slower. So we must account for all of that. So for that we must be faster. Sometimes the calculator is very slow. We might as well solve it by hand. I sometimes some question I found it unless and until there's a decimal point in question. Otherwise, if it's a fraction, I do it myself. I don't even waste time. अभी कहाँ से I take my mouse, drag it. Better to do it by hand, and I'll get my answer quickly. Uh, so with prep, that's what I've primarily done.
And one
I've
final advice
broken
that
things down.
what is the one advice? I asked this to everyone who cracked the exam. What is the one advice that you would give to someone who's preparing for JAM exam?
I'll give an advice that most people don't give because about studies, everyone will give some advice or the other. Stay around good people because a lot of people don't account for social media pressure. And I've completed my master's, I'm a little more mature. Uh, Students still in their batches, they're still at an impressionable age. People go for concerts, people want to try out a new cafe. So there's always this fear of missing out, FOMO, whatever they call it.
Peer pressure.
Uh, Peer pressure. Be willing to stay out of it, honestly. Stay away from Instagram, stay away from Snapchat. It's just a matter of, abhi, it's March 23rd. May 12th is ISI. Just a matter of less than 2 months. I'm telling you, anyone who starts preparing now should be able to crack ISI. I don't, if you're sincere, you spend close to 16 to 18 hours studying every day productively. You should be able to crack ISI. It shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Great
Even
advice
your
that
breaks,
many
even if
students
your
are.
breaks,
Sorry, go ahead.
so even I believe in taking breaks, but your break should be productive. Get good sleep, 5 to 6 hours of sleep minimum, uninterrupted sleep, eat healthy food because on the day of the exam you should be healthy. I see so many students eat Maggie and they stuff themselves with espresso shots one after the other, thinking that will help them stay away. But whatever you're studying, you're not going to retain it. You're going to forget all of that. And when you're looking at the screen, you'll think, oh, I learned this formula, but I don't remember it now. That will hurt you even more.
Did you use any social media during your preparation?
Instagram, I have a fake account where I just one two close friends. That too, I only look at it on Sunday. WhatsApp, I will soon delete that also soon in 2 days time. And it does you a lot of good. Initially, you're like, oh, kya ho raha hai? What are my friends doing? Then you realize that you honestly don't care about all this because you're focused on your thing. All of that distraction is set aside, and you focus on your goal, and you see your goal more clearly. Then all of these tips that I said will automatically make sense to you because that's what you will be doing. Then you'll be thinking, oh, I need to clear all this. You're only thinking about yourself then. And people who distract you, a lot of people do well with group studies. But when you're in a group study, make sure you're with a group that encourages you, that doesn't use group study session as a means to distract you, make you less productive. Okay, पहले मोमोज खाने चलते हैं, उसके बाद पढ़ाई करते हैं. नहीं पहले दही भल्ला चाट खाते हैं, उसके बाद वापस आते हैं. That should not happen. You, when you're studying, study. When you're having fun, when you're taking a break, have uninterrupted break. When you're having a break, when you're with your friends, with your family, if you're going to watch a movie, then don't think about studying. Once in 2 3 weeks going for a movie is absolutely harmless, but when you're watching a movie, have fun. Then don't think, oh, I should do this question, because then that you're not being productive. You come back even more tired.
Yeah,
So
that's
when you're
that's
having
a
a break, you recharge
that's a
yourself.
very good advice that you have mentioned, that stay in the moment and do not get into the peer pressure and keep your mind and body in a good shape. That's a although I wasn't expecting this advice, but it's a really good advice that you have given because it will
It is.
really help someone of your own age.
Exactly, because people of our age, we get carried away. Very impressionable age we are all in. Older people tend to not understand it because older people, you've reached a stage in life where nothing matters. You know, you've reached this level of maturity also. Younger people, we're not as mature, so we tend to fall for all this. Instagram, say, oh, this story, someone's put a story, oh, I missed out on this. Then you dwell on it, but you're not focusing on what you want to do. When you put yourself aside, you don't care. Then you realize, oh, I can do this later. Then you focus on your own goal. Then all of these methods you're preparing